Capricorns often carry a silent weight, a sense of duty, responsibility, and pressure to be the strong one. From the outside, people might describe them as cold, too serious, or even distant. But anyone who really knows a Capricorn knows that armor was earned. It was built through struggle, sacrifice, and a deep-rooted desire to provide, protect, and persevere. Capricorn doesn't always ask for praise. They don't move for applause. They move because something inside them says, keep going. But here's the question most Capricorns don't ask out loud, even though it's there, quietly tucked inside. Does anyone see how much I carry? And the answer is yes, God does. This video isn't about labels or stereotypes. It's about truth, spiritual truth. We're looking at Capricorn through God's lens, not filtered by the world's expectations or social media narratives, but through the unchanging wisdom of Scripture. Because God doesn't see signs the way the world does. He sees souls, purposes, designs, and yes, He sees Capricorn, not just for what they do, but for who they are becoming. So if you're a Capricorn, or you love one, this message is for you. And before we go deeper, take a moment to subscribe to Secret of the Zodiac. We talk astrology, but always with meaning, always with purpose. If this resonates with you, drop a like. It tells us we're on the right path, and it helps others find their way here too. Now let's begin with two of the most powerful ways God sees Capricorn. Two traits that aren't just personality quirks, but divine callings. Number one, God sees Capricorn as diligent. Let's start with something real. Capricorns rarely ask for praise. They rarely stop to celebrate themselves. Why? Because in their world, there's always more to be done, more to fix, more to protect, more to build. Their mindset isn't built around applause. It's built around purpose. Capricorn is the person who shows up early and stays late, the one who doesn't need motivation to be responsible, the one who picks up the slack, holds it together, and makes sure things actually work. Sometimes that looks like strength. Sometimes that looks like exhaustion. But what's always true is this: their effort is consistent. And in a world full of shortcuts, that kind of consistency is holy. Proverbs 10:4 speaks directly to this trait. Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. Now don't get stuck on the word wealth as if it only means money. In God's kingdom, wealth also means depth, wisdom, character, and influence. It means favor that can't be measured in dollars. Favor that is earned through the kind of hard-earned persistence that Capricorn lives out daily. Diligence means showing up when it's uncomfortable. It means doing the hard thing, not the flashy thing. It means staying faithful even when no one is watching. Capricorn often wonders, does anyone even see how hard I try? The answer is yes, God does. He sees every sacrifice, every decision to keep going when giving up would be easier. And that matters more than the applause you don't get. It matters because you weren't made for temporary rewards. You were made for lasting impact. You were made to build things that last. And building takes diligence, not for a week, not for a season, but for a lifetime. Number two, God sees Capricorn as disciplined. Now here's where diligence transforms into something even deeper: discipline. There's a subtle difference between working hard and living with discipline. Anyone can grind for a short time, but Capricorns, they create a lifestyle out of it. They're not moved by hype or trend. They move with intention. They don't need to be told what to do every day because they've trained themselves to do it. They're structured, focused, consistent. That consistency isn't just a habit, it's a spiritual posture. It says, I'm not here for what feels good now, I'm here for what matters forever. Hebrews 12:11 captures it like this: no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it. Capricorn lives that verse daily. They say no to quick fixes. They say yes to long-term growth. They organize their life not to avoid failure, but to make room for greatness. Discipline for them is freedom. It's the kind of freedom that comes from being in control of your time, your focus, and your energy. And in a world full of distractions, that's rare, that's sacred. Most people chase peace. Capricorn builds it through boundaries, through intention, through knowing what needs to be done and actually doing it, even when no one's watching. But let's be real, discipline can be lonely. It can make you feel misunderstood, especially when the people around you don't see the pressure you carry or the sacrifices you've made. People might call you rigid. They might say you're too serious, but God calls you faithful. And in the kingdom of God, faithfulness is never forgotten. It's easy to underestimate the value of discipline until everything falls apart. And then it's the disciplined person who's still standing. Capricorn doesn't just survive storms, they prepare for them. And that preparation is a kind of spiritual maturity that often goes unnoticed, but never unappreciated by God. Discipline is also what allows Capricorn to carry more responsibility, more influence, more vision. Why? Because they've trained for it. God doesn't pour weight into hands that can't carry it. He entrusts strength to those who've proven they can manage it with honor. If you're a Capricorn and you've been wondering why it feels like the weight never lets up, it's not because you're cursed, it's because you're capable. And that capability was forged through discipline. That discipline makes you dependable, grounded, rooted. While others are chasing sparks, you're building a fire that actually warms the room. Your discipline is a testimony to the younger version of yourself who didn't quit, to the people watching you in silence, hoping you'll fail, to God, who's preparing you for what's next. So let this sink in. Your diligence and discipline are not just good traits. They are spiritual markers of purpose. They are sacred qualities that God sees, values, and uses. And while the world might celebrate the loud, God often anoints the quiet. Capricorn, you're not being overlooked, you're being prepared. You're not stuck, you're being shaped. But God's view of Capricorn doesn't stop at effort and structure. It goes even deeper into wisdom, into leadership, into something that echoes His own divine order. Number 3, God sees Capricorn as a foundation builder. There's a quiet strength in the way Capricorns build their lives. They don't rush. They don't fake stability. They build slowly, brick by brick, emotionally, financially, spiritually. They're not the type to slap together something that looks good from the outside, but crumbles when pressure comes. If Capricorn is building, you better believe it's built to last. That's because they understand something sacred about life. Anything worth having is worth building right. In the book of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 24, Jesus says, "Therefore everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock." That verse captures the Capricorn mindset perfectly. They're the ones laying deep foundations, not just for themselves, but for others too. They're the sibling who becomes a second parent, the friend who holds you together when everything falls apart, the colleague who brings order when the team is falling into chaos. Capricorn doesn't just want stability, they create it. And God sees this. He sees the long nights spent planning, the emotional restraint required to stay steady, the maturity it takes to build without rushing. He sees the pain of being the one who always has to be the strong one, and He calls it holy. Capricorns often build things without praise. Homes, families, businesses, emotional safety nets. They do it not for credit, but because something inside them won't let them walk away from what needs to be done. That calling to be a builder? That's not just personality, that's divine wiring. The world may applaud the loud and the flashy, but God builds His kingdom on people who are steady, people who don't crumble when the wind picks up. Capricorn is that kind of person. They're not sand, they're stone, but God doesn't stop there. Once the foundation is laid, He often calls Capricorn to something even greater. Number 4, God sees Capricorn as a leader. Now this part might be hard for some Capricorns to fully accept, because leadership, in the world's eyes, often looks like fame, charisma, or loud confidence. But Capricorn doesn't always fit that mold. Their leadership is different. It's quieter. It's earned, not demanded. It's rooted in action, not talk. Exodus chapter 18, verse 21, lays out what godly leadership really looks like. But select capable men from all the people, men who fear God, trustworthy men who hate dishonest gain, and appoint them as officials over thousands, hundreds, 50s, and 10s. Look at the qualities listed there: capable, God-fearing, trustworthy. That's Capricorn, not because they're perfect, but because they're prepared. because they've already proven they can carry weight, make wise decisions, and put the mission above the ego. Capricorns often lead by default because when things fall apart, people turn to the one who's calm, the one who has a plan, the one who doesn't break under pressure. That kind of leadership isn't about popularity, it's about presence. They lead in families, at work, in communities, sometimes without the title, but always with the responsibility. And God sees that. He places them in positions of influence not just because they can handle it, but because they steward it well. Capricorns don't chase leadership, they carry it, and that makes all the difference. But leadership isn't easy, especially for someone who feels everything deeply, but often has to hide it. Capricorns can feel emotionally exhausted from always being the one who has it together. They can feel isolated at the top, not because they want to be alone, but because their strength intimidates others. But here's the truth. God hasn't called you to fit in. He's called you to lead. He knows that your quiet strength makes room for others to grow. He knows that your ability to hold the line makes space for peace. He knows that even when you feel unqualified, He is qualifying you every single day through your character, your commitment, and your consistency. If you're a Capricorn who's questioning whether your efforts matter, whether your leadership is enough, whether your steady presence is seen, this is your confirmation. God sees it all, and more than that, He uses it. Every decision you've made to choose principle over pressure, every moment you've led with humility instead of ego, every sacrifice you've made to protect the people you love, it all matters. Because leadership in God's eyes isn't about spotlight, it's about service. And Capricorn, you were built to serve with strength. The way you carry others, the way you plan ahead, the way you don't collapse under the weight, it's all preparation. Not just for where you've been, but for where you're going. Because the leadership God is cultivating in you isn't small, it's generational, it's legacy level. And while some people lead for attention, you lead for alignment. You lead so things don't fall apart. You lead because someone has to. And more often than not, that someone is you. But Capricorn's calling doesn't end at leadership and structure. There are deeper layers still, parts of their characters shaped not by position, but by trust, loyalty, and spiritual depth. Number 5, God sees Capricorn as faithful in small things. Capricorns have a way of sticking to what needs to be done, not just when it's exciting or rewarding, but especially when it's unseen and unrewarded. They show up again and again. That's faithfulness, not the loud, celebrated kind, the quiet, behind-the-scenes kind, and God values that deeply. In Luke chapter 16, verse 10, Jesus says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." Capricorn lives this out. They treat the little things with care. They don't just rise to the occasion, they carry the everyday. They're the ones paying bills on time, showing up when they said they would, remembering the details that no one else catches. They treat commitments like promises. To some, that might seem boring, but to God, that's the mark of someone He can trust with more. And here's where it gets deeper. Faithfulness in small things doesn't always feel rewarding. Sometimes it feels like no one notices, like you're planting seeds that never bloom. But in God's timing, everything planted in faithfulness brings a harvest. Capricorn's consistency isn't just a personality trait, it's a spiritual tool, one that God uses to build, to restore, and to lead. Because when you're faithful with the small stuff, when you honor your word, stay committed, keep integrity, you prove you're ready for bigger blessings, not just in status, but in impact. You show God that He can trust you with influence that lasts. And He always remembers the ones who were faithful when no one was watching. But that's not all God sees in Capricorn's heart. Number 6, God sees Capricorn as trustworthy. Trust is one of the most powerful forces in any relationship. And Capricorn understands that on a soul-deep level. To them, trust isn't a game. It's not temporary. It's sacred. They don't just say the right things. They do the right things. They protect confidences. They follow through. They carry the weight of other people's needs and emotions, often without ever being asked. And they do it quietly, because for them, Trust is never about attention. It's about alignment. Proverbs chapter 11 verse 3 tells us, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." Capricorns walk with that kind of uprightness, not perfectly, but intentionally. They're not swayed by hype or trends. They choose their values, and then they live by them. In a world full of people chasing shortcuts, Capricorn takes the long way, because they know the long way is the one that lasts. And when they give you their trust, it's not casual. It's commitment. They don't give it easily, but once it's given, it's strong, deep, loyal. That's why betrayal hits them so hard, because they don't play games with people's hearts. They assume others treat trust the way they do, and when they find out that's not true, it shakes them. But even in that pain, Capricorn stays honest. They rebuild from heartbreak without becoming bitter. They carry wounds without turning them into weapons. And that level of emotional responsibility, that's something God honors. He sees the restraint it takes not to lash out. He sees the integrity it takes to stay honest when lying would be easier. He sees the loyalty that continues even after being disappointed, and he calls that strength. Trustworthiness isn't just about how you treat others. It's about how you carry yourself when no one's around. It's about character, and Capricorn walks with character even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. And that's why God places weight on their shoulders, because trust is a burden, and Capricorn can bear it. You were made to be the person others lean on, and while that can be heavy, it's also holy, because trust builds legacy. Trust builds impact. Trust builds bridges that carry people back to safety, emotionally, spiritually, practically. So if you're a Capricorn and you've been wondering why people depend on you so much, why you often feel like the emotional anchor in every space, it's not a coincidence. It's calling. God trusts you with hearts, with spaces, with responsibility, because you don't take it lightly. And even when you feel underappreciated, you're building something sacred, a reputation for reliability in a world of unpredictability. And yet trust and faithfulness aren't just personal values, they're spiritual foundations. And when paired with humility and wisdom, they create something even more powerful. Number 7, God sees Capricorn as humble. In a world obsessed with attention, performance, and being seen, Capricorn quietly does the work. They rarely need the spotlight. In fact, many Capricorns would rather not be the center of attention. They value results over recognition. They don't chase approval, they chase meaning. And that humility? It's not weakness. It's strength under control. It's maturity. It's something that echoes the very nature of Jesus himself. Micah chapter 6 verse 8 says, "He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." Capricorn walks humbly, not perfectly, but honestly. They don't boast about their accomplishments, though they've achieved a lot. They don't need to be loud to prove they're strong. They just are. And that quiet strength, God sees it. He honors it, because humility is what makes someone teachable, reachable, ready to receive wisdom and ready to lead without ego. Capricorns often find themselves in leadership roles, not because they fight for them, but because people trust them. And humility is a big part of that trust. No one wants to follow someone full of pride. But a Capricorn, they don't put themselves above others. They don't fake it. They let their actions speak, and that's exactly the kind of heart God can use. But humility isn't always celebrated. Sometimes it gets mistaken for passiveness or for not having enough drive, but God knows better. He knows that the humble heart is often the most powerful one, because it's surrendered. And surrender leads to strength. Capricorn doesn't need to announce what they're doing. They just do it with patience, with focus, with grace. And in every quiet act of humility, God is shaping them, preparing them for more, lifting them in His timing, not the world's. Because those who humble themselves will be exalted. That's a promise. Still, humility is only part of Capricorn's spiritual profile. The next trait goes hand in hand with it, a trait earned through experience, not just intellect. Number 8, God sees Capricorn as wise beyond their years. There's something deeply rooted about a Capricorn's wisdom. It's not just knowledge from books or lessons passed down, it's lived wisdom. They've walked through things most people don't even know about. They've carried weight in silence, made decisions alone, watched others fall apart, and still stayed standing because someone had to. Capricorn's wisdom is like an old tree, steady, grounded, weathered by storms but still reaching upward. It doesn't always make noise, but it always makes sense. Job chapter 12 verse 12 says, "Is not wisdom found among the aged? Does not long life bring understanding?" But here's the thing. With Capricorn, that wisdom often comes early. They're the ones who felt old as kids, the ones who were responsible before they even understood what childhood was supposed to feel like, the ones who saw too much too soon and learned how to carry it. That's why people come to them for advice. That's why they're often the emotional anchor in every group. That's why they seem like they just get it. God gives them this wisdom for a reason. It's not just for them, it's for others. Capricorn carries insight, discernment, and a gut-level understanding of how things work. They often feel truths before they can even explain it. And because they've been through so much, they lead with empathy. Not empty sympathy, real empathy. They don't just say, "I understand." They do understand. And that understanding creates space for healing, clarity, and direction. Wisdom isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it means staying quiet when you want to speak. Sometimes it means walking away instead of proving your point. Sometimes it means doing what's right, not what's popular. Capricorn lives in that tension. They've learned that wisdom often means loss in the short term, but peace in the long term. And they choose peace. But that wisdom, it's not without cost. It comes from being the strong one too often, from learning things the hard way, from watching people make messes that Capricorn ends up cleaning up. Still, they don't grow bitter. They grow better because they know wisdom isn't just for surviving. It's for building something better next time. And God honors that. He sees the quiet processing, the deep thinking, the constant search for meaning. He sees how Capricorn studies people, protects their peace, and makes decisions from a place of grounded clarity. Wisdom makes Capricorn a guide, not just for themselves, but for others. And that's no accident. That's divine design. So if you've ever wondered why you always feel like you're carrying more, why people look to you for answers, why you seem to grow up faster than others, it's because God gave you something rare, something that can't be faked or taught in a classroom, spiritual maturity. And as Capricorn continues walking in humility and wisdom, a deeper purpose begins to rise, one rooted not just in who they are, but in how they handle pressure, pain, and the battles they never asked for. Number 11, God sees Capricorn as a faithful steward of responsibility. Capricorns don't just carry their own load, they often carry the load of others too, without asking, without complaint, because somewhere along the way, they learned that if they don't do it, it might not get done. So they step in, step up, handle it. But what they might not realize is that this isn't just a personality trait, it's a spiritual calling. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 10 says, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." Capricorn lives this. They don't just help, they hold. They're the one people call when they're in trouble, when they need advice, when they feel like their life is falling apart. Why? Because Capricorn shows up with strength, with clarity, with presence. And while it may feel overwhelming, this ability to carry weight is something God trusts them with. They are stewards, caretakers of moments, emotions, resources, and people. Capricorns manage the little things with intention. They handle budgets, schedules, expectations. They remember birthdays, fix what's broken, and organize what's been neglected. They are the keepers of structure in a world that feels chaotic. But stewardship isn't just about doing things. It's about how and why you do them. Capricorns serve with responsibility, not for recognition, but because they believe in order, in purpose, in protecting what matters. And God sees that. He honors it because He knows He can trust them to hold what others might drop. And sometimes, let's be real, it's a heavy burden. It's tiring to always be the one others lean on. It's lonely to be the one who remembers, plans, prepares, while others live more freely. But hear this, what feels like pressure to you is proof to God, proof that you are capable, trusted, prepared. Capricorns are not careless with what they've been given, not with people, not with time, not with opportunities. That kind of faithful stewardship is rare, and God multiplies what He sees being handled well. You've been faithful with little. He's preparing you for more. But Capricorn's gift isn't only about responsibility, it's about endurance. Because while many start strong, few finish well. And Capricorn was built to finish. Number 12. God sees Capricorn as chosen for the long game. There's something deeply powerful about a soul that doesn't give up, that keeps showing up when it's not easy, that continues walking step by step when the road ahead still looks long. That's Capricorn. They are not the ones who burn fast and fade. They are not here for quick wins or overnight fame. They're here for legacy, for depth, for completion. Philippians chapter 1, verse 6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus." God doesn't just start things, He finishes them. And He chooses people like Capricorn to carry out the long assignments, the ones that take decades, the ones that require patience, the ones that require discipline, faith, and stamina. Capricorns are built for the climb, the steady rise, the quiet journey. They don't panic when things take time. In fact, they often expect it. They understand that anything real, anything valuable, takes work, time, consistency, trust. And while others may quit, lose focus, or jump to something new, Capricorn remains focused, rooted, unshaken. That's not just personality, that's divine design. But let's be honest, being the one who finishes can feel like being left behind. While others sprint ahead, jump into the spotlight, chase applause, Capricorn is still building, still refining, still walking. It can feel slow, it can feel unrewarding, but it's not. Because God's timing is never rushed, and neither is Capricorn's. They don't just want success, they want significance. And significance doesn't come in shortcuts. It comes in faithfulness, in endurance, in finishing the race with integrity. God has chosen Capricorn for the long road because they have the strength to carry it, the wisdom to navigate it, and the heart to serve through it. They don't just survive seasons, they shape them. And that shaping, it isn't just for their own life. It's for the people who come after, the ones who will look at Capricorn's story and see what's possible when you don't give up. So if you're a Capricorn who feels behind, if you're wondering if all this quiet work is leading anywhere, if you're tired from carrying more than most, know this: God sees you, and He's not done. Because the work He began in you is still unfolding, and the harvest coming is not just for you, it's for generations. But before we wrap this up, let's bring it all together. Every trait, every truth, every way God sees Capricorn, and what it means moving forward. If you've made it this far, take a breath. Really, pause, inhale. Because whether you're a Capricorn or someone who deeply loves one, you've just walked through something sacred. 12 ways God sees Capricorn, not as the world sees them, not through stereotypes or shallow assumptions, but through divine truth. You've seen that God doesn't just notice the results. He sees the effort, the weight you carry, the moments you didn't break, even when you easily could have. He sees your discipline, how you wake up and show up when no one else does. He sees your foundation building, the long hours spent creating a life that feels safe for others. He sees your leadership, not the loud kind, but the kind that holds the room together. He sees your faithfulness, your commitment to the small things when no one else is paying attention. He sees your humility, the way you serve without needing credit. He sees your wisdom, not just what you know, but how you've earned it through pain and grace. He sees your strength, the kind that grows in the pressure cooker, not on the stage. He sees your honesty, the way you stay true even when it costs you. He sees your stewardship, how you protect what matters most. And He sees your endurance, the way you've kept going, not because it's easy, but because you believe in something bigger. Capricorn, God sees the real you, not the version you show the world, not the version edited for social media. but the one behind closed doors, the one that keeps going when the room is silent, the one that cries in secret but leads in public, the one that feels everything deeply but stays composed to protect others. You are not invisible, you are not replaceable, and you are not forgotten. You were made for more than the climb. You were made for more than holding everyone together. You were made for impact, real, lasting, eternal impact. And if this video has reminded you of your value, of your divine wiring, of your sacred identity, then let it do more than inspire you. Let it move you. If you're new here, welcome to Secret of the Zodiac. This is more than a Zodiac channel. We're building a space where spiritual insight, emotional depth, and astrological wisdom come together, with meaning, with purpose, with truth. So here's what I'd love you to do right now. Subscribe to this channel. Don't just watch, become part of this community. We post videos that go beyond signs and symbols. We talk soul, identity, calling, and character. And we do it every week, sometimes daily. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next message. Because trust me, if this one spoke to you, the next one will too. Hit the like button. It's small, but it matters. It helps the algorithm understand that content like this deserves to be seen. It pushes this video into the hands of someone else who needs it. Maybe someone who feels like giving up today. Comment below. Seriously, we want to hear from you. Tell us, which of the 12 truths hit you hardest? Was it the one about being strong under pressure, or the one about being a long game soul? Share your story. Let's fill the comment section with real voices, with truth, with connection. Let's remind each other we're not alone. We read every single comment, and your words, your testimony, might be the exact thing someone else needs to hear today. And if this content helped you, consider going a step further. YouTube recently made something available called Super Thanks. It's a way for you to donate directly to the channel as a show of gratitude and support. We don't talk about money much here, but here's the reality. Creating these videos takes time. Research, writing, editing, narration. It's a full-time job. And we want to do more of it. We want to post daily. We want to reach more people. We want to build better content, deeper messages, and more personal insights. But that takes resources. If you've been blessed by what we do and you're in a position to help, please consider clicking Super Thanks and donating what you can. It could be $2 or $20. Every bit helps cover the costs of running this channel, and it keeps this content free for those who need it most. And honestly, your support means the world. It tells us, keep going, this matters. And it gives us the fuel to show up again tomorrow with a message that might change someone's life. So here we are, the end of this video, but not the end of what God is doing in you. Capricorn, don't downplay your strength. Don't minimize your worth. Don't question your pace just because the world moves differently. You were made on purpose, for purpose, and we're honored to walk this journey with you. We'll see you in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. And until then, keep climbing, not just mountains, but into the version of yourself that God already sees. You've got this, and we've got you. Subscribe, like, comment, support with Super Thanks. Let's grow this together. We're just getting started.